Chapter 7505. Even if he went underground, there should at least be an entrance, right? There is nothing around here. It's impossible for him to drill into the ground out of thin air. When Xiren had a puzzled look on his face. He had already looked around the area several times, but there was clearly no entrance. What kind of ability is Yunju? How could he drill into the ground silently? At the same time, Di Beichen's voice came from the Chaos Ring. Xiren, any news? The Qing family has left. I only know that they didn't catch Yunju, but I can't find out where he is, Xiren said helplessly. Hearing this, Di Beichen thought for a moment and had some guesses. Yunju may be underground. Don't worry. Just stay outside for a while. It won't be too late to take action after making sure that the Qing family has left. I understand. In the Qing family. Qing Devil sat at the head of the meeting hall. Looking at the third elder who was kneeling before him, his face was extremely gloomy. All these years, you have been in charge of the resource warehouse. I've said before that except for the resource warehouse, you have nothing to do with anything else. But this time you let the resource warehouse be stolen. It's all my fault. Please punish me, Your Excellency. At this moment, the third elder was no longer as arrogant as when he was chasing after Bailey Hongzhuang. His face was pale and his eyes were full of worry. Guarding the resource warehouse was a very important duty for any force. Now that the resources in the resource warehouse were gone, the punishment was unavoidable. It was his fault that he didn't catch the culprit. He really wanted to cut Bailey Hongzhuang into pieces. If it weren't for that girl, he wouldn't have made such a serious mistake. Of course you can't get away with this. Qing Devil's face was livid. You are a level 4 expert, but you can't even catch up with a level 1 expert. No wonder you can't guard the resource warehouse. Today he had been waiting calmly. In his opinion, the luck of Di Beichen's group had already been used up. If that wasn't the case, he wouldn't have woken up so quickly. This place was not like the crossing immortal domain. Back then he only brought a few people with him. Now that all the Tier 4 immortals were here, Di Beichen and the others had no chance of escaping. However, he never thought that Third Elder would come back and tell him that he had failed. Third Elder's face was pale. His expression was unsightly, yet he was unable to show his face. This matter was indeed a great humiliation. I have failed to live up to Sir's trust, the Third Elder said sincerely. I am willing to resign from my position as the Resource Warehouse Elder. Sir, you can do whatever you want with me. Xiao Shou was also in disbelief. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others have improved so much? That was a rank 4. The last time they met, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others would have been wiped out if there had been a rank 4 immortal present. Third Elder, who was already in a bad mood, had a sinister look in his eyes when he heard this. Did this woman do it on purpose? When we met last time they were in the beginning immortal realm. Now they have broken through to the level 1 realm, Qing Devil said coldly, and a sinister look flashed across his deep eyes. He had to admit that these guys had broken through very quickly. It was not difficult for them to break through to the level 1 realm from the beginning immortal realm. However, it was beyond his expectation that they could break through to the beginning immortal realm so quickly. Moreover, from the news he could tell that not only Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, but also the 2 demonic beasts and their helpers had broken through to the beginning immortal realm. Chapter 7506. How did these guys make breakthroughs? Qing Devil's eyes flashed with a strange light. It was normal for 1 or 2 people to make breakthroughs, but they made breakthroughs one after another. Could it be that all of them were so talented? Don't worry. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang escapes, the others won't be able to escape. Qing Devil calmed down. Compared with Bailey Hongzhuang, he wanted to deal with Di Beichen more. As long as he caught all the others, he would definitely catch Bailey Hongzhuang. He knew that these stupid guys valued friendship very much. As long as he caught a few of them, the others would definitely be caught one by one. At most, he would just waste more time. Hearing this, Xiao Shou nodded. The gloominess on her face also dissipated with the wind, and there was a hint of calmness. Once Di Beichen was caught by her, Bailey Hongzhuang's previous pride would disappear. She would no longer be qualified to flaunt her strength. Everything would turn into nothingness. It was getting dark. The cultivators of the Qing family came back one by one. However, they were not as high-spirited as others expected. Instead, they were all dejected and worried. They were really worried about the punishment they would face later. Especially since everyone else had made it except for them. It would be so humiliating. However, as soon as they entered the conference hall, they saw the silent Third Elder. Before they had time to think about the situation, they heard Qing Devil's question. Where is she? They looked at each other, but no one answered. Qing Devil frowned. Looking at the silent crowd, he said, "Do you want me to send someone to invite her?" The fourth elder's mood was also very complicated. This time he let two people escape, so he naturally did not dare to speak first. But why didn't the others speak first? He hoped that the others would make Qing Devil feel better after they caught her. Then he would tell them about his failure. Perhaps the punishment would be lighter. Now that no one said anything, he couldn't say anything. "Master, I didn't do my job well." After one of them spoke up, the others seemed to have found an ally and admitted their mistakes of not doing things well. Xiao Soa didn't take it to heart at first. Bailey Hongzhuang's group had several people, so it was expected that one or two of them would run away. However, when she heard that almost everyone had failed, her expression became very strange. What kind of joke was this? The entire Qing clan sent out all their cultivators, yet in the end not a single person was captured? Could it be that this group of people had been bribed by Bailey Hongzhuang before? Otherwise this kind of thing would never have happened. Not to mention Qing Devil, even the fourth-level immortals present were dumbfounded. How could this be possible? They had always thought that they were the only ones who had failed. They didn't expect that everyone had failed. A bunch of trash. Qing Devil glared at the crowd coldly. She was so angry that she could topple mountains and overturn seas. "Speak. How on earth did you get bribed?" At the same time, a sixth-level immortal had appeared beside Qing Devil. He released his coercion, and everyone present turned pale under the coercion. How could such a thief sneak into our Qing clan? You all failed. No one will believe your words. Qing Devil's voice was cold, emitting a bone-chilling coldness. "If you admit it now, I can still give you a quick death." Hearing this, all the elders knelt down one after another. "Master, please understand. We are loyal to you." Chapter 7507. Loyalty? Qing Devil kicked away the chair beside him, saying, "The Qing family has raised so many of you, and we've always provided you with benefits. Now, so many of you went out, but you couldn't even catch a man in the elementary celestial realm. Are you really that useless?" "Sir, it's not like that," the fourth elder hurriedly explained. If they couldn't explain this matter clearly, their loyalty to the Qing family would be questioned, and it was expected that they would be replaced by the Qing family. "I was ordered to chase a man and a woman in the elementary celestial realm, but I didn't expect that the woman was a member of the dragon tribe. She flew all the way and rode on the clouds, so it was really difficult to catch her. As for the man, he was the king of beasts in disguise. I was about to catch him, but he summoned other members of the beast tribe. Those members of the beast tribe all helped to block him, so I lost track of him." The fourth elder looked sincere and nervous, saying, "Today's matter is indeed my fault, but it was really unexpected. Heaven and earth can testify my loyalty to the Qing family. I hope you can forgive me this time. I've been serving the Qing family wholeheartedly all these years." Hearing this, Qing Devil's expression changed slightly. He knew that the fourth elder was chasing Linger and Bai Li Yanche. As members of the beast tribe, these two guys did have the advantage in escaping, especially Bai Li Yanche. As the king of beasts, it was no doubt easy for him to summon other demonic beasts. It was understandable that the fourth elder had been able to escape under such circumstances. After saying all this, the fourth elder carefully observed Qing Devil's expression. Whether he could stay in the Qing family or not depended on Qing Devil's decision. Fortunately, Qing Devil was a little moved. He said, "Forget about the fourth elder. What about the others?" The others fell into silence. The fourth elder's reaction was pardonable. After all, once the king of beasts came out, it was really difficult for the others to stop him. As for them, there was no other reason. It was entirely because they were too weak or stupid. As expected, the Azure Demon flew into a rage. The third elder, who had been scolded badly by the Azure Demon, felt that he was rather lucky after seeing how the others were behaving. There was no harm in being punished earlier. Bai Li Yanche waited until the evening of the next day. After confirming that everyone from the Qing clan had left, he let Di Baichen and the others out of the primordial ring. "Don't worry, I've already confirmed that there's no one else nearby." When Xiren patted his chest and guaranteed, "This is a desolate place, there is basically no one who passes by here. The Qing clan has already left long ago. I have been guarding here for so long, but there is no movement at all. However, the strange thing is that I have not seen Yunju appear." Gong Jun looked around. This place was a desolate wilderness, and he couldn't see anything special about it. "Boss, how do we find her?" "Dig." Di Baichen pointed at his feet and looked at Xiren. "Aren't you good at digging tunnels?" Xiren was slightly stunned. "Dig from here? Isn't it too casual?" He thought that Di Beichen would find Yunju's location carefully after coming out. He didn't expect that Di Beichen would just find a random place for him to dig. Don't tell me you want me to turn over the whole underground area? Chapter 7508. That's not the case. Di Beichen looked at the ground and pondered, since Yunju disappeared around here, then the only way is to dig into the ground. If his injury is not serious, then after so long he should have come out. However, there has been no movement for so long, which proves that his injury is very serious. Maybe he has already fallen into a coma. His gentle voice was calm and steady, exuding a convincing power. Di Beichen looked calm and indifferent as if everything was already in his hands. He looked at his feet and said, Yunju is a smart person. The reason why he was able to escape so many people in the Qing family were not able to see through it. It is enough to see how well hidden this hole is. You have been looking for so long and still haven't found it, which means that even if we go around a few more times, we may not be able to find the entrance. Rather than that, it is better to dig underground. With the few of us digging together, we will definitely find him. Hearing this, Xiren also understood. This was indeed a stupid method, but they just had to spend a little more time and they would definitely find Yunju. Linger and I will also join. Bai Lian Che said, if Yunju is really seriously injured, then we have to find him as soon as possible, otherwise I am worried that he will be in danger. Everyone nodded and no longer hesitated. They casually found a place and started digging. However, everyone covered the hole to avoid being found out by others. Everyone's speed was not slow. This place was indeed not small, but it was also limited. Gong Jun dug and found a hole not far in front of him. Obviously this should be the passage that Yunju dug. I found it! Gong Jun shouted. The others also approached the direction of Gong Jun. Finally, after moving forward for a distance, they found Mo Yunjue. Mo Yunjue had already fallen into a coma. Although his black clothes did not have any blood, the strong smell of blood still made everyone understand that he was seriously injured. Yunju? Bai Lian Che called out twice, but Mo Yunjue did not respond. Di Beichen brought Mo Yunjue back into the chaos ring. He, who had learned medical skills from Hong Zhuang, treated Mo Yunjue's wound. When they saw the hideous wound, everyone could not help but gasp. With such a serious injury, it was no wonder that Mo Yunjue would fall into a coma. It was only thanks to his powerful strength that he was able to hang on to his last breath even though he was severely injured like this. I think Yunju will need to recuperate for a while. Bai Lian and Yunju sighed. Those fellows from the Qing family, in the future I will definitely pay them back all of this. Linger nodded slightly. It won't be long before we get our revenge. Boss, is there any problem with Yunju's injury? His injury is very serious, but he only needs to rest for a while to recover. Di Beichen smiled faintly. At this level of cultivation, as long as he still has a breath, he will not die. When these words came out, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Di Beichen was speaking the truth. At their level, no matter how serious the injury was, as long as they still had a breath, they would be able to recover. The only difference was that the more serious the injury, the more heavenly treasures would be needed to recover. Otherwise it would take a lot of time. Fortunately, we robbed the Qing family's resource warehouse this time. Otherwise, these cultivation resources would not be enough. Chapter 7509. Everyone rested in the Chaos Ring for a day. Only then did Xiren embark on the journey to the Skyline continent. The sky was clear and the clouds were floating leisurely. Xiren traveled alone, and there was a hint of loneliness in his expression. When one got closer, one could hear him muttering. Usually, everyone travels together. Now that I'm alone, I'm really not used to it. From here to another city, to take a flying magic weapon to the main city, and then to the Skyline continent through the teleportation array. This journey is quite far. Xiren sighed. When we reach the main city, everyone should be able to come out. Those fellows from the Qing clan will not continue to chase after us. Chaos Ring. Di Beichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, who was still unconscious, and his brows were filled with concern. Hongzhuang, wake up quickly. With such serious injuries, even if she did not look so scary on the surface, she was still unconscious. He could not be at ease. Di Beichen, don't worry too much. Hongzhuang's injuries are so serious. It is normal for her to be unconscious for a few days. Linger said. Di Beichen retracted his gaze. This time we caused such a big commotion in the Qing clan and later on, everyone knew about it. I think Qing Devil must be furious. When he recovers, I am afraid he will come to find us. So what? Bai Lianche's face was full of disdain. When his strength recovers, our strength will also increase. When we meet again in the future, it is not certain who will be the winner. This time we are in the Qing clan's headquarters. That is why we are being chased by such a large scale. When we reach the Skyline continent, Qing Devil will not be able to bring so many people with him, right? Gong Jun's face was full of pride. When the time comes, we might be the ones chasing after him. Di Beichen smiled faintly. I hope so. I reckon that the elders who were chasing after us are having a hard time right now. Linger chuckled. They are obviously stronger than us, but none of them can catch up with us. Qing Devil and Xiao Souo must be furious. Everyone smiled when they heard this. This was also a form of consolation. Overall, their operation this time could be considered a complete victory. We're going to the Skyline continent, but we still haven't figured out where to go. Ling frowned. Back then, they had just casually decided on the general direction of the Sky Travel continent. As for the rest, they didn't have any plans at all. We still have too little information. Di Beichen also felt a little helpless. When we reach the Skyline continent, we can find out more about the situation, and then we can make a decision. That's good too, Linger replied. I hope Xiren can reach the main city soon. That way we can meet up with the others. Although they had gathered together now, Zhongli Mu, Yang Lingfeng and the rest were still outside. If they could meet up earlier, everyone would feel more at ease. Shengguan Yingying sighed. I'm going to cultivate first. At this moment she really felt that her strength was holding them back. If she could break through to the elementary immortal stage, she could at least be of some help. Even now she could travel with Xiren and not do nothing like this. Yingying, wait. Shengguan Yingying turned her head and looked at Di Beichen in confusion. This is for you. Di Beichen took out a fruit and handed it over. This fruit can help cultivators break through to the elementary immortal stage. With it, your breakthrough will be faster. Chapter 75:10. Shengguan Yingying looked at the fruit in her hand and then looked at the smiling people in front of her. Her mood was even more complicated. She held the fruit tightly in her hand and said, "Thank you." Looking at Shengguan Yingying's back, everyone's expression was also complicated. Obviously, Yingying was under a lot of pressure now. Don't worry. Bai Lianche looked at Ling a little pressure is not a bad thing. Didn't Xiren break through under pressure? Although that guy excitedly said that he broke through when he was digging the tunnel, everyone knew in their hearts that it was because the pressure that had been accumulating in their hearts all this time had exploded. Pressure many times could be turned into motivation. When Bailey Hongzhuang woke up, the first person she saw was Di Beichen. Hongzhuang, how are you? She looked at the familiar environment in front of her and immediately felt relieved. I'm fine. Seeing that she wanted to sit up, Di Beichen quickly took a pillow behind her and helped her sit up. Drink some water first. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the busy man and flowers bloomed in her eyes. Don't worry, I'm much better. How is everyone? Everyone is fine, but Yunju is still in a coma. She should wake up in 2 days. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang was relieved. That's good. She fell into a coma after the last explosion and couldn't remember many things, but she vaguely remembered seeing Di Beichen's face before she fell into a coma. And that glance became her last support when she was in a coma. Di Beichen carefully looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. After confirming that she had recovered most of her strength, he smiled and said, I'll go and inform everyone. You were in a coma for a few days and everyone was very worried about you. Okay. When Di Beichen left, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes also showed a trace of confusion. She vaguely remembered some fragments of what she had seen when she was unconscious. She had never heard those voices before, but they were unfamiliar to her. In her memories, these clearly did not exist, but what were the things that flashed through her mind? Was this a dream? Why would he have such a strange dream? For some reason she felt that this wasn't just a dream. Originally, he thought that after coming to the immortal realm, he would be able to understand many things that he didn't understand. Who would have thought that now he felt more and more confused? Forget it, I won't think about it anymore. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head. It was meaningless to think about such an unclear illusion. If he really belonged to her, then she would know sooner or later. Hongzhuang, what's wrong? As soon as Di Beichen came in, he saw Bailey Hongzhuang shaking her head. Worry quickly appeared on his handsome face, and he quickly walked to her side. I'm fine. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. I just woke up and felt a little confused. It's nothing. A little confused. Di Beichen frowned slightly. Your previous injuries were mainly on your body. Could it be that your brain was injured as well? As he spoke, Di Beichen prepared to examine her. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang hurriedly said, Beichen, don't worry. I'm a doctor myself. How could I not know? At the same time, Ling and the others' chuckles could be heard. No matter how calm Beichen is usually when it comes to Hongzhuang, his rationality and calmness instantly disappear. Of course, Hongzhuang is his treasure. Ling smiled. Chapter 75:11. As Bailey Hongzhuang regained consciousness, her injuries were no longer affected much. On the contrary, after this serious injury, her strength had improved a little. So many heavenly treasures had been eaten by her directly. In the end, she still managed to unleash a pretty good effect. Boss, how many treasures did you guys get this time? Gong Jun came over curiously. He had only been to the resource warehouse once before and it was downstairs. He was really curious about the things inside. The harvest this time is indeed not small, but we also used up a lot in the process of escaping. Di Beichen smiled faintly. Bai Li Yanche and the others nodded. When they were escaping, they ate like crazy. After all, they were about to lose their lives, so how could they have the time to think about these things? Now that they thought about it, even they felt the pinch. What a waste. What a waste. After Yunjue wakes up, we'll split the loot. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up slightly. One look at Gong Jun's expression and she could tell what he was thinking. At that time, everyone put the cultivation resources into their own storage rings. Only when everyone gathered together could they count. All right. No one had any objections. The harvest this time was the combined harvest of all of them. Not only them but Zhongli and the others also contributed. If it wasn't to guard against Yi Sun, Zhongli definitely wouldn't have missed such an exciting event. When Xiren walked alone in the Qingping continent. Fortunately, he kept a low profile along the way and didn't have any conflicts with anyone, so it was peaceful. After reaching the main city, they directly used the teleportation array to reach the Skyline continent. Gong Jun and the others also took the opportunity to exit the Chaos Ring. Looking at the completely different scenery in front of them, everyone was completely relieved. After leaving the Qingping continent, they didn't need to worry about the Qing family's power for the time being. They were completely safe now. Sister-in-law, your divine weapon is really amazing. Just the flying artifacts and teleportation arrays along the way saved us a lot of money. Gong Jun smiled. Everyone glanced at Gong Jun. Sure enough, this guy only cared about money at all times. In any case, they were now people who had robbed the resource vault. Even if they weren't rich, at least they weren't considered poor. Yet they were still calculating this. Ling Feng and the others should be nearby by now. Let's meet up with them first and then discuss where to go. Di Beichen walked into the city. Luotian City, one of the main cities of the Sky Travel continent, was naturally extremely prosperous. There were also many experts here, but compared to Luoxian City, they found that there were many more elementary celestial stage cultivators here, and there was no longer the tension and oppression from before. Most of the people coming and going were elementary celestials and first stage celestials. Second stage celestials were already considered to be quite strong. As expected, the Sky Travel continent has many elementary immortals. We don't have to be as careful as before, Ling said. When Xiren also heaved a sigh of relief. It really wasn't easy for me to come all the way here. I didn't even dare to breathe loudly, afraid that I would accidentally offend a third stage celestial or fourth stage celestial. The Sky Travel continent is still better. The pressure isn't that great. Although Bailey Hongzhuang and the others didn't say anything, it was obvious from their expressions that they were in a good mood. Let's go. Along the way, let's see if there are any signs left by Ling Feng and the others. Before they took action, everyone had already discussed everything. When they escaped, they decided on 3 routes and the final destination was Luotian City. Chapter 75:12. They had wasted some time on the way here, so Yang Lingfeng and the rest should have arrived here earlier than them. Not long after entering the city, everyone saw the mark left by Yang Lingfeng. Following the mark, they walked into a restaurant. Lingfeng should be here. Di Beichen looked at the second floor and asked the waiter for information about Yang Lingfeng. Just then, someone walked down from the second floor. When he saw everyone, he was pleasantly surprised. Di Beichen, you're here. Yang Lingfeng quickly walked in front of everyone and heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that everyone was safe. Come, take a seat first. Everyone sat down in the main hall and Yang Lingfeng called Zhongli Mu and Yi Sun down. When Yi Sun saw that Di Beichen and Gong Jun were safe and sound, a hint of surprise appeared in his eyes. Then it quickly disappeared and was replaced by a surprised smile. However, none of this escaped Gong Jun's eyes. "You're back, that's great." Zhongli Mu quickly walked over. "After I left, I was worried that something would happen to you. Luckily you're all back safely." When Mo Yunjue gave him the task of looking after Yi Sun, he was very depressed. It was a pity that he couldn't participate in such a big matter. "We're blessed by the heavens. How could something happen to us so easily?" Bai Li Yanche laughed. Everyone glanced at Bai Li Yanche. "Don't forget that you were chased down to the point where you didn't even care about your reputation as a beast king. You pulled every beast you saw to help you." Bai Li Yanche looked at everyone. "Why are you all looking at me? Am I not telling the truth?" Everyone looked away. What he said was true. They had gone through a lot of danger and the end result was very good. Yang Lingfeng lowered his voice and couldn't suppress the curiosity in his heart. "Did you really rob the Qing clan's resource warehouse?" "Of course it's true." Gong Jun's face was full of pride. "Either we don't do it or we do it big." Success. Yang Lingfeng looked at Di Beichen in disbelief. Gong Jun liked to brag, so what he said might not be the truth. "Yes." Di Beichen answered, confirming Yang Lingfeng's guess. "Oh my god." Yang Lingfeng shook his head. No wonder he thought that Beichen and the others had great luck. Not to mention their luck, their courage was not something that ordinary people could compare to. Wouldn't robbing the resource vault be the same as destroying their headquarters? "What news did you find out in the Sky Travel continent these days? There are many factions here. Which faction should we go to?" Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Since he had come to the Sky Travel continent, he had to choose a force to join. Not only could he find a backer, but he could also increase his own cultivation speed. In the past few days we have learned that the main powers in the Sky Travel continent are still the various academies. Every major academy would recruit cultivators every year. However, there were certain requirements to enter the academy. The age of one's bones could not exceed 100 years. If one's bone age is over 100 years old, then they can only join a sect. Zhong Limu explained everything he knew. In the Sky Travel continent, the academy is the place that cultivators want to go to the most. We have also noticed it in Luotian City. Academy cultivators are more arrogant in front of sect cultivators. Bone age not exceeding 100 years old. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows and asked, "None of us have exceeded that right." Chapter 75:13. When one reached the elementary celestial stage, one's age could no longer be determined by their appearance. However, one's bone age could be determined. A bone age of 100 was not considered young. In fact, being able to break through to the elementary celestial stage within 100 years was already proof of one's talent. It was not difficult for cultivators born in the celestial realm to reach this stage. However, cultivators from other realms who could reach this stage within 100 years were already very outstanding geniuses. As Bailey Hongzhuang finished speaking, everyone's gaze turned to Yang Lingfeng. Noticing everyone's gaze, Yang Lingfeng's face instantly turned red. "Why are you all looking at me? Although I'm older than all of you, I'm not even 100 years old." "Really?" When Xiren asked suspiciously. He had heard from the city lord that it was common for cultivators in the chaotic celestial realm to spend decades or even centuries to break through to the elementary celestial stage. Yang Lingfeng seemed to have stayed there for a long time. "It's true." Yang Lingfeng's face was serious, as if he was afraid that others would not believe him. "If I'm really 100 years old, then I should have a child. How can I not have a partner?" If Yang Lingfeng's other words were not convincing, then when he said this, everyone looked at each other. His words were very convincing. After all, he was the city lord's son. If he could not find a partner after living for so many years, that would be too tragic. Seeing that everyone believed him, Yang Lingfeng's expression did not improve. Instead, it became even uglier. "These guys. Yi Sun, what about you?" Zhong Limu asked. "I don't have one either." "That's good. Let's find someone to ask about the situation of the academies. When the time comes we can register," Mo Yunjue said. Zhong Limu smiled and said, "I've already asked. There are many academies in the Skyline continent. However, the most famous ones are Sky Star Academy and Mingyao College. The other academies are not bad either. However, Sky Star Academy and Mingyao College are publicly recognized as the strongest. Since we want to go, it's best to go to these two academies. It's said that these two academies have the most abundant cultivation resources. Their strength will increase faster than the other academies." Everyone's eyes lit up. "Then it's decided. Of the two great academies, which one do you prefer?" Actually, between the two academies, Star Academy is slightly stronger than Mingyao College, but the difference is not that big. I originally thought that it would be best to enter the Heavenly Star Academy. After all, if we want to enter, then we should enter the best academy. We are all geniuses after all. Young Ling Feng's face revealed a smile, and his expression was filled with pride. However, the enrollment of the Heavenly Star Academy started a few days ago. If we go now, we might not be able to make it in time. However, we can still make it in time for the Mingyao College. In that case, let's go to Mingyao College, Bailey Hongzhuang said. Since the difference in strength between the two colleges was not very big, it did not matter if he entered Mingyao College. The academy's resources were one thing, but the cultivators themselves were even more important. Yang Lingfeng heaved a sigh of relief. Okay, then let's set off as soon as possible. We've already found the place to take the flying celestial device. It will take about half a month to get to Mingyao College from here. All right. Everyone nodded and immediately set off. If they were delayed and could not make it in time to register, then they would have to wait for another year. Chapter 75:14. I just heard that Star Academy and Mingyao College aren't that far apart, and there are even people who want to register at Star Academy. It seems like they won't make it in time? Ziren walked back with some doubts. He had clearly heard the discussion between the two people in front of him. Ling Feng's information is too unreliable, he didn't even ask clearly. Seeing this, Zhongli Mu and Yi Sun couldn't help but laugh. What's the situation? Ziren looked at the two suspiciously. Do you know something? Actually, Star Academy and Mingyao College have the same recruitment period, but because Star Academy is ranked first, the requirements are slightly higher. Ling Feng is worried that he won't be able to pass the Star Academy's exam, then he won't be able to go with us. Young Ling Feng turned his head and said, Actually, if you want to go to Star Academy, I don't have any objections. He knew that Mingyao College's requirements were quite high, but Star Academy's requirements were slightly higher. He was really worried that there would be an accident. He didn't doubt that Beichen and the rest would be able to get in, but he might not. When the time comes, I know this is my fault, I'm sorry. Yang Ling Feng said with shame. Mingyao College is Mingyao College, it's not a big deal. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Anyway, the two academies aren't that different. Along the way, all the cultivators who went to register talked about Mingyao College and Star Academy, so she was sure that these two academies were the most famous. There was only a slight difference because when the two academies competed, Star Academy won more times, which proved that the two academies were on par. Since they promised the mayor that they would take care of Yang Ling Feng, there was no reason for them to leave him behind. Hearing this, Yang Ling Feng looked at Bailey Hongzhuang excitedly. Hongzhuang, you're really beautiful and kind, I knew you wouldn't have the heart to do this. Could it be that only Hongzhuang is good? When Ziren raised his eyebrows and joked, then I'll have to urge everyone to go to the Heavenly Star Academy. Nice to meet all of you. Yang Lingfeng hurriedly said, I'm really lucky to have met all of you. Bai Liyan Che laughed heartily and pulled Yang Lingfeng forward. It's just a small matter. You can just tell us directly. Why do you need to think so much? Linger looked at Yang Lingfeng. How old are you? As soon as he said that, everyone's eyes fell on Yang Lingfeng with a hint of playfulness. Mingyao College's requirement was to have a bone age of less than 100 years. Yang Lingfeng was sure that he did not meet that requirement at that time. The Heavenly Star Academy's requirement was slightly higher than that of Mingyao College, but it should not be too high. So this guy's bone age? My room is here. I'll go in first. Yang Lingfeng's eyes turned and pointed to his room, then quickly hid in the room. Everyone chuckled. Although this guy did not answer, but from his reaction they could tell that he was not young, at least much older than them. Luckily we can't see his age. Otherwise wouldn't Yang Lingfeng be our elder? Zhong Limu's expression was complicated. It was really hard to accept that this guy could be his elder. If it was the usual way of addressing him, then it would be really strange. Everyone? Let's pretend that we don't know. Chapter 75:15. Bailey Hongzhuang was not in a hurry to enter the room. This flying magic tool was somewhat different from the one she had used in the Qingpeng continent. The number of rooms was slightly less, and the place for receiving guests was larger. She had noticed that there were a lot of cultivators gathered there. They did not know much about the academy, so maybe they could know a few people and get some information. Know yourself and know your enemy and you will never be defeated. Since they had come to the Tianxing continent, it was always good to know more. Otherwise, if they went to the academy and did not know anything, they would inevitably suffer. Let's go to the front and have a look? Bailey Hongzhuang suggested. Everyone nodded. They were quite interested. Anyway, they would soon reach the academy, so they were not in a hurry to cultivate. At this moment, there were a lot of cultivators in the reception area. The appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang's group was not unexpected. Many cultivators deliberately came here to make more friends. Our Heavenly Star Academy defeated the Radiant Academy in the last competition. Junior brothers and junior sisters, I'm sure everyone knows where to register. However, this benefit cannot be monopolized by our Tianxing Academy. Therefore, the enrollment requirements are slightly higher than Mingyao College. Cultivators with a skeletal age of over 80 should register at Mingyao College. Otherwise, Mingyao College's accommodation area will be empty. A man stood in the center with a very ostentatious expression, his expression full of pride. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at him. On the clothes of the other party, the two words Tianxing were impressively written. His identity was naturally very obvious. All the cultivators present looked at the man with envy in their eyes. In the Heavenly Travel Continent, being a cultivator of the Heavenly Star Academy was a kind of honor. No matter where you went, you would be looked up to by others. Zhong Ziming, don't be too arrogant. Although the Tianxing Academy defeated us last time, it was only a competition. They did not win every time. Our Mingyao College is not weak. The principal only loosened the enrollment requirements a little to give more cultivators a chance. Don't add fuel to the fire. Ladies and gentlemen, although Heavenly Star Academy is not bad, it is not like they have never lost to our Mingyao College. The guys there have always been arrogant, which can be seen from Zhong Ziming's attitude. Our Mingyao College is full of flowers. The next time you defeat them, the opportunity is in your hands. Another man stood out. He was wearing the uniform of Mingyao College. His words were obviously in favor of Mingyao College. The cultivators present were all extremely moved. In fact, as long as they could enter the two great academies, it was already a kind of glory. It also meant that their strength would be greatly improved. However, most of the cultivators were not qualified to enter the two academies at all. Among the many academies, the requirements of the two big academies could be said to be harsh. Needless to say, Heavenly Star Academy naturally did not need to be mentioned, but Mingyao College relaxed the admission requirements, which was still difficult for many people to meet. Compared to them, the requirements of the other academies were much more relaxed. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others did not pay much attention to this. Their eyes fell on the man who spoke from Mingyao College. Li Ruiyang? What the hell? Why did we meet him again? Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' expressions became very strange. Naturally, they all remembered Li Ruiyang. When they went to Luxian City, they met him. Later, Hongzhuang made 2 transactions with him and earned a lot of blood spirit stones. Chapter 75-16. Originally, they thought that after leaving the Qingpeng continent, they would not cross paths again. Who would have thought that they would bump into each other again on a flying artifact in the Skyline continent? If not for the fact that this guy was wearing Mingyao College's uniform, they would have thought that this guy was following them on purpose. I really didn't expect that Li Ruiyang would actually be a student of Mingyao College. This guy's family is not weak in Luxian City, so why would he come to the academy? Yang Lingfeng frowned. Previously, the matter between them was so big that it could be said that it was incomparably dangerous. He only felt that it was better to completely cut off all ties with Luxian City. Now that this guy had appeared again, who knew if he would be recognized? Although the possibility was not very high. In my opinion, you guys should enter Heavenly Star Academy. If I really can't get in, I'll go to Mingyao College. Anyway, didn't you say that the two academies are not very far from each other? Yang Lingfeng said. He was indeed selfish, but he couldn't implicate everyone because of his selfishness. Don't worry. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her right hand slightly. Her pleasant voice was like a clear spring that swept across everyone's heart with a reassuring power. I've dealt with Li Ruiyang a few times before. This guy is actually not very smart. At that time Ling Er and I were very careful and took pills to change our aura. I believe that Li Ruiyang won't be able to recognize us. Isn't that simple? Let's walk around in front of him and see if he can recognize us. Gong Jun raised his eyebrows. I'll try. This guy hates me so much before. If he can really recognize me, we'll have no future trouble. Back in Luxian City, they were naturally not a match for Li Ruiyang, so they didn't have the intention to deal with him. But now it was different. This was the Skyline continent. Although Li Ruiyang was a second-stage immortal, as long as they joined forces, it was not impossible to defeat Li Ruiyang. Then you go and try. Everyone nodded with some curiosity in their eyes. In fact, they couldn't be considered as enemies with Li Ruiyang. After all, their common enemy was the Qing clan. If this fellow couldn't recognize them, then there was no need for them to make a move. Gong Jun smiled and walked to Li Ruiyang's side. At this time, there were several other cultivators gathered around Li Ruiyang. They were all wearing Mingyao College uniforms. Senior, I've heard about Mingyao College for a long time. I want to join. What kind of assessment will there be? Li Ruiyang was already arguing with Zhong Ziming. Now that someone came to ask about joining Mingyao College, he was naturally happy. In that case, you'll soon be our new junior. You have good taste. Li Ruiyang praised before looking at the woman beside him. Kai Mingshu introduced this junior brother to you. Okay. The woman smiled and agreed. Junior brother, let me do the introductions. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others noticed that Li Ruiyang didn't have the slightest suspicion when he saw Gong Jun. They understood that this fellow didn't even consider the possibility of meeting them again, nor did he think in that direction. Therefore they simply walked behind Gong Jun and listened to the woman talk about Mingyao College. When Li Ruiyang saw Bailey Hongzhuang and the others walking over, a strange look appeared in his eyes. Then it turned into joy. Chapter 75-17. Li Ruiyang secretly decided that if they met in the academy in the future, he would take care of him. Senior sister, your skin is so good. No matter how hard one tried, flattery would never work. On the side, Gong Jun had successfully won the senior sister's favor. He had not even participated in the assessment, but he was already calling her senior sister. Zhong Limu was also secretly speechless. He had always followed his grandfather to cultivate. Ever since he left the abandoned immortal forest, he had followed Mo Yunjue. However, Mo Yunjue was also a taciturn person. If he could use his hands, he would not use his mouth. Therefore, when he saw Gong Jun treat him as one of them with just a few words, his heart was filled with shock. If he had this kind of strength, he would not have been hunted down so miserably. It seemed that he would have to learn more from Gong Jun in the future. If things could be solved with just a few words, then there would be no need to waste time. Junior brother, this assessment is mainly to test bone age. The younger the bone age, the more outstanding the talent, and the better the treatment after entering the academy. This talent is divided into 9 grades. The higher the grade, the stronger the talent. The upper 3 grades, the middle 6 grades, and the lower 9 grades. The academy's residential area is also divided into 3 areas. In fact, almost none of the cultivators who can enter our academy are of the lower 9 grades. Most of them are of the upper 3 grades and the middle 6 grades. If that's the case, why is the residential area divided into 3 areas? First grade talents have their own residences. The second and third grade talents live in one area, and the middle 6 talents live in another. Hearing this, everyone understood. No matter where they were, the treatment of geniuses was ultimately different. You guys are from the chaotic immortal realm? Kai Mingshu saw that Gong Jun and the others did not seem to know much about the academy, and guessed in her heart. Senior sister, you're really smart. We didn't say anything, but you already know where we came from. Gong Jun's face was full of admiration. His eyes were burning with worship, and Kai Mingshu couldn't help but look away. In the academy, many cultivators come from different realms. As newcomers, there are definitely many things that you do not understand. However, the 4 great continents are different from the other 9 continents. The atmosphere of the academy is much more relaxed. Coming to the Sky Travel continent is indeed a very good choice. Kai Mingshu revealed a smile. She answered Gong Jun's question without holding back. At the side, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had already sat down, waiting for Gong Jun to ask all the questions they were curious about. With this guy around, there was no need to worry about this in the future. Senior, are you a second-year student? Kai Mingshu nodded slightly. We are all second-year students. When Zhong Ziming saw that Li Ruiyang had stolen the limelight, he was very unhappy. However, Li Ruiyang ignored him after taking advantage of him. He simply started to explain together with Kai Mingshu. Zhong Ziming was so angry that he left early. Senior, from your bearing, I can guess that you must be quite famous in Mingyao College, right? Gong Jun said with a face full of admiration. A trace of unnaturalness flashed across Li Ruiyang's face. Then he said proudly, as a senior, I am somewhat famous in the academy. In the future, when you go to the academy, if you have any problems, you can look for me. My reputation is still somewhat useful. When Xiren narrowed his eyes. Bragging. Keep bragging. How great of a reputation could a second-stage student have in the academy? In any case, he did not believe it. Senior, are you also from other realms? Gong Jun's eyes were clear, and he played the role of a newbie incisively and vividly. The thirst for knowledge on his face made Li Ruiyang unable to bear to refuse. Chapter 75:18. Kai Mingshu smiled and said, Li Ruiyang isn't from another plane. He's from Qingpingzhou. I see. Realization dawned on Gong Jun's face, and the admiration on his face deepened. So Senior Li is from the Immortal region. No wonder he has such an extraordinary bearing. Li Ruiyang waved his hand. Those who can reach this stage are all geniuses. I actually admire cultivators from other planes more. You all relied on your own abilities to make your way here. Although that was what he said, no one present would believe it. One had no backing while the other had a backing. Moreover, the backing was at least a high-ranked cultivator. These were two completely different concepts. Even relying on this identity, Li Ruiyang could still do well in the academy. In a short period of time, everyone had already understood enough information. Under Li Ruiyang's assurance, they only needed to follow him to the academy to register when the time came. Only then did everyone leave with gratitude. I told you this guy doesn't have a brain. He definitely can't recognize us. After walking some distance, Gong Jun's voice, which was full of laughter, reached everyone's ears. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. She thought about how Li Ruiyang and Gong Jun had patted each other's shoulders and called each other brothers. Then she thought about how Li Ruiyang wished he could kill Gong Jun when he saw him. Her feelings were really complicated. No wonder this guy had always been suppressed by Qingjia. With this IQ, it was no wonder that there would be such an outcome. Speaking of which, it's strange. Why didn't this guy stay in Qingpingzhou? Why did he come to the academy all of a sudden? Bai Lianche was a little puzzled. As far as he knew, people from factions usually wouldn't come to the four great continents because there was no need. Maybe he's not smart enough, so he came out to fill his brain? Ling-Er asked. As soon as she said that, everyone's gazes fell on Ling-Er with a strange look. What's wrong? Ling-Er, you've also learned bad things. Usually Ling-Er did not speak much. Among them, if Mo Yunjue was the first, then Ling-Er was the second. However, now that Ling-Er even said such words, it could be seen that Gong Jun's influence was not ordinary. Ling-Er paused and asked, Am I not good? Good. Very good. Bai Lianche hurriedly said, You can't be any better. Ling-Er was usually too quiet, so he didn't have many chances. If she was more lively and cheerful, he would have more chances, right? Although the Immortal region is large, it is different from other planes. After cultivators advance, they will leave their original plane. The cultivators of the Immortal region have always been here. Since most of the cultivators from the four great continents would eventually head to the other 9 continents, it was not strange for Li Ruiyang to appear here. It would be good for him to get to know more people. Di Beichen's magnetic voice was full of wisdom and sharpness, perfectly answering the doubts in everyone's hearts. No wonder. When Xiren understood. If it was a strong cultivator who had already become famous, the price to pay to make friends with him would be much higher. But here it is much more convenient. From the looks of it, the Li family values Li Ruiyang more than Li Rui's. Gong Jun was a little incredulous. The head of the Li family is probably not very good in the head. According to Kai Mingshu, it is much more difficult for cultivators to earn cultivation resources by themselves. But after entering the academy, cultivation resources will be much more abundant. The premise is still based on one's own ability. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.